Hey, it's Heather Adams with MassLive, and today I am at TEDxSpringfield. We've done a couple of other videos. We got to talk up close and answer questions with other presenters, and we're going to continue that today. So check out our other videos. Make sure to like our page, the TEDxSpringfield. Tag someone who you think would be super interested. There's a lot of inspiring stories, a lot of good lessons, so we are going to continue with those now. So we are here with Erin Chrusciel, who gave her story and let people kind of know about the realness behind infertility, and that it's more common than people think. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about that and what you talked about today?
Okay.
There we go. All right.
Okay. So I want to start off by saying that this is an amazing event, TEDxSpringfield. It's nice to be around so many people, especially local people as well, that are, I'm so moved by this experience, and was happy to participate. My story is a very personal one. I was joking with someone that I kind of came out of the fertility closet today, once and for all. I had my two daughters through donor egg after a 10-year journey of infertility and several miscarriages, and kept quiet for most of it because I thought I was alone. But as it turns out, 1 in 8 couples struggle with infertility who are of childbearing age, and that is a number that I don't think a lot of people appreciate. And there's millions and millions of couples who are struggling with it right now. And I think if we all could talk a little bit more about it, it would be less isolating and less shameful. And also if we could do a better job collectively as a society, just listening to people who have painful stories, whether it's infertility or, I mean, we all have a struggle that we're working through, and I just feel like generous listening without judgment and without giving suggestions is something we all could use right now. I have 2 daughters that are amazing through this whole process, and I had 2 amazing women who helped me get my family in science, which in a process of donor egg, which I did not even realize existed. So I have a lot of things to be grateful for, and this was really a chance for me to share my story, not really for myself, but for the millions and millions of people out there that are still going through it right now. And I run a fertility support group here in Springfield that meets at the Springfield Library once a month, and I just hope to be able to help other people who are going through it and give them a little bit of the support that I've never really found.
And, you talk a little bit about, not judgment, not suggestions. So when someone is, telling their story to you, what kind of, how do you, it can be awkward and it can be weird. And
yes.
People are scared of that. And so what advice do you give for someone who really wants to help a friend?
My first advice would be don't run away because it's awkward for you. The best thing to do is just listen and say, I'm so sorry, and thank you for sharing this with me. Infertility is really a personal and difficult thing to admit. I wish that were different, but until that is different, it's a sense in a situation where they are in pain and you haven't really been there, is to not give advice. Don't say, oh, just relax, or you should just adopt, or try this or try that. You're not going to solve this problem for them unless you're a fertility doctor. So just listening is absolutely the best thing and the hardest thing, because we all want to fix it and no one wants to sit in that uncomfortable silence of pain. But I think that is the best friend you can ever be, is someone who just sits beside you and sits with your horrible, rotten pain.
And sometimes people feel that just sitting there isn't enough. So you're saying it is.
I think it is. I think asking. I think a lot of people are afraid to ask. I had a lot of friends and family, really well-meaning, but they felt like, I don't want to stir anything up. And some people will prefer to keep their stories to themselves, but I'm a very, very social person, and I was dying to have some shoulders to cry on and have someone just say, wow, that's horrible. That sucks. And the people who did that I will never forget it. You know, and I think also, like, when you have a miscarriage, that's another time people just disappear because it's awkward and people don't know what to say. But I remember so specifically certain friends who came running over. I don't have anything to say. Here's some soup. Here's a bunch of bad movies. I love you. And, you know, you don't forget that. You don't forget the people at those times who step up and come in nervously.
And so then why did you start your support group? And specifically here in Springfield.
Because I feel like there's a lot of support in the greater Boston area, but there wasn't anything at the time when I was going through it. Now there's a great support group in Northampton that I know of, and you know, we kind of service the lower segment of Western Mass, and I started it a little while ago, and the women created an amazing bond, and all the women who were in that group have babies, and now we keep in touch, and it's a really amazing experience to be around people who know, I mean, everybody's child is special, but there's just something about knowing how hard you fought to have your kids and all the pain you went through, that when you wake up every day and you're like, wow, I'm done with all that, and here they are. And they get to drive me crazy. It's great.
And we talked a little bit earlier about how you maybe don't have what people consider the traditional family.
Right. My story was 10 years of infertility. I like to think I could have got a PhD in that time, and instead I was just sad for a long time. And had several miscarriages, was pregnant with triplets once, and eventually was told donor egg or adoption was the only way I was going to be a parent. And I had never heard of donor egg. I didn't understand it. I never heard of anyone who had done it, and that felt like a failure to me. And once I learned about it and I met another couple who had children through donor egg, that really changed my mind, and it felt more normalized. And that's really what I hope to do with this talk, is that you're not going to meet anybody who maybe is going to talk about it, but listen to the talk and forward it around, and maybe people will realize that it's happening so much more than we realize. Women are having babies a lot older now than we used to, and the need for assisted reproductive technologies is increased a bit. So anyway, we had our babies through 2 different known donors. One is a cousin on one side of my family, and one is a cousin on the other side of my family. And my daughters have always known their conception stories, and it was a risk. It was a risk to work with known donors because it could have gotten really weird. But it hasn't. I mean, we've been really lucky, and for me that was important because I wanted to be able to not have any unanswered questions in my daughter's genealogy. And I can also call them up and say, hey, does your family have eczema? My daughter's got, you know, this, that, and the other thing. And it's very practical as well.
And so what overall are you hoping when you tell people your story? What are you hoping they take away?
That 1 in 8 couples in the United States are going through this. That it's somebody you know. If you know 8 young couples, you know somebody going through this, and maybe you just aren't aware of it. And just by sharing our sad, long story, that maybe people will feel like it's going to be okay. In fact, I asked my daughter, who's 7 and very intelligent, I said, what should I say to people who really want to be moms and dads and aren't, and they're sad? She said, Mom, tell them your story. It will make them feel better, and maybe it will give them some hope. And I think, well, clearly I raised the most perfect daughter on earth to say something so thoughtful, but it was my story. It wasn't her story. It's not going to be her baggage. It was like, you went through this, and that your family's going to be okay in the end, and it's just going to be, you know, regular old parenting stuff, and you forget about it, and that it'll end.
Awesome. And all right, so that ends our talk here, but I'm sure people have a lot more questions, so be sure to comment in our comment section and we can try and get those answered. Again, we're going to do a couple more talks with really important lessons, inspiring stories, so continue to check out our Facebook page, like us, like TEDxSpringfield, and stay along with us. Thanks.